All right, Mr. Trutna, here we go. Unit 10, practice tests. For each function, number one we're doing, state the vertex and state whether or not the graph will open up or will it open down. Okay, let me zoom this in just a little bit so you guys can see it here. Okay, so in number one, the three equations that you are given, if you notice, are all written in what we call vertex form. Okay, so we're looking at the equation, vertex form is y is equal to a parentheses x minus h, you close the parentheses, to the second power plus k. Okay, and in this equation, the values of a and h and k, these will be numbers, okay, where a and h and k are, and they tell you what the coordinates of the vertex are, and they tell you what the opening is. Okay? So in this very first question right here, f of x is equal to, so the function of x is equal to negative, and there's no number here, parentheses x minus 4, close the parentheses, to the second power minus 2. This tells us that the a value is negative 1, the h value is positive 4, and the k value is negative 2. So when the a value is the number in front of the parentheses, negative 1. Okay. Now, if the a value is negative, that means that tells you the opening. The a value tells you whether or not the graph will open up or down. If the a value is negative, it means that the opening of your graph is going to be down. Okay? It's going to be down because a was equal to negative 1. Okay? And then the vertex is your h and your k value. So the coordinates of your vertex would be the coordinates positive 4, negative 2. And that's the way it works every time when you have an equation in what we call vertex form, which would be an equation in that format right there. Okay? And b, g of x, so our function g of x is equal to x minus 4 to the second power plus 3. Okay, so in this equation, my a value is going to be 1. It's the number in front of the parentheses. My h value is going to be positive 4. The h value is always opposite of what's inside the parentheses. And then your k value is going to be positive 3. Okay, so that makes my vertex h and k. So my vertex would be the coordinates 4, 3. And then my opening of my graph, since my a value is positive 1, my opening of my graph would be up. Okay? Up because a is equal to positive 1. Third one, k of x is equal to parentheses x plus 4 to the second power plus 3. So my a value is 1. My h value is the opposite there, so that's negative 4. And then my k value is positive 3. So my vertex is always my h and my k value. So my vertex coordinates would be negative 4 and 3. And then my opening, since my a value is a positive 1, my opening would be up because a is equal to 1. Okay, moving on to number 2. Use m of x is equal to 2 times the quantity x plus 5 to the second power minus 3 to answer a, b, and actually it would be c. So a and b and c. Sorry about the typo there. Okay, so what are the coordinates of the vertex? So we're looking at this equation. So this equation tells us that my a value is positive 2. My h value is the opposite of what's inside the parentheses, so it's negative 5. My k value is negative 3. Okay, so my coordinates on my vertex are my h value and my k value, so the coordinates would be negative 5, negative 3. Will the parabola open up or down? You look at your a value. Since my a value is positive, that means my parabola is opening up. And then what is the equation of the line or the axis of symmetry? So remember, when we're talking about the line or the axis of symmetry, it always has to be written as an equation, and the equation is always x equals, and then it's x equals whatever your vertex's x value is. So since my vertex's x value is -5, which corresponded with my h value, my equation for my axis of symmetry or line of symmetry would be x equals -5. Okay, number 3. Is each ordered pair a solution to the function y is equal to -3x squared plus 5? Okay, so first of all, let's look at the ordered pair -2, -7. So this is an ordered pair, so that means that the x value is -2, the y value is -7. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my equation right here, and every time I see a y, I'm going to substitute -7 in its place. So I'm going to get -7 equals, and every time I see an x, I'm going to substitute a -2. So I'm going to get -3, then instead of x, I have a -2 to the second power, so you have a second power right there, plus 5. And then what I do is I work this out. And then I see if it works out or doesn't. So the left side of the equal sign cannot be worked out, so that's a -7, but let's work out the right side of the equal sign. So -4 to the second power, -2, excuse me, to the second power is +4. +4 times -3 is -12. -12 plus 5 is -7. So you could see that this ordered pair is a solution to the equation because it worked out. So -2, -7, we would put a yes because it is a solution. How about 1 and 3? We're going to do the same process. So in the place of x, I'm going to substitute a 1. In the place of y, I'm going to substitute a 3 into my equation here. So I'm going to get 3 is equal to, keep the -3, substitute 1 in the place of x, so 1 squared plus 5. And then I work this out. Okay, so can't do anything to the left side, but the right side, 1 to the second power is 1. 1 times -3 is -3. Then we keep working out the right side. -3 plus 5 is 2. Then you see we get 3 is equal to 2. Well, those aren't equal. So what does that tell us? It tells us that 1, 3, the answer is no. That is not a solution to the equation. Okay, sorry about that. My dog needed to be let in. He was scratching at the door. Third one, the coordinates 5 and 0, the ordered pair 5 and 0. So that means my x value is 5, my y value is 0. I'm going to substitute 0 in the place of y. I'm going to keep the -3 in my equation, but I'm going to substitute 5 for x to the second power plus 5. And then I'm going to work this out and see what happens. Okay, so I'm going to get 0 is equal to, so 5 to the second power is 25. 25 times -3 is -75. -75 plus 5 is -70. So you can see that the coordinates 5, 0 did not work out. So C would be no as well. Okay, number 4. You have two different equations. F of x is equal to x squared, and g of x is equal to x plus 3 squared minus 4. Which description is correct? Okay, so in this one, what's going to help us to decide which description is correct is we are going to look at the vertex coordinates of each equation. Okay, so let's go to the g of x equation right here, and what's the vertex? Well, the vertex would be your h value, which is -3, and your k value, which is -4. So your vertex would be -3, -4. Now for this graph right here, you might remember this one right here, f of x is equal to x squared. That's your standard, what we called your standard parent graph. And the vertex of this would be 0 and 0. Okay, so these two equations, if I graph them, would both make parabolas, but the only difference is that one of the parabolas would have a vertex at 0, 0. So this is what the x squared parabola would look like. This would be your f of x parabola. And then your other parabola would have a vertex at -3, -4, which would be somewhere down here. Okay, and both of the parabolas would be the exact same width. They would be the same, the distance between them would be the same there. So those would be the same. So what's the only difference? Well, this one, which is my g of x parabola, has been shifted. So how has it been shifted? Well, notice it's been shifted 3 to the left and 4 spaces down. That's what that vertex told me. So g of x is the same graph of f of x, except g of x is shifted 3 left and 4 down. So number 4 would be C. Okay? Number 5. We're going to need number 4 to help us answer number 5. So number 5, which is on the next page, says, which is the correct transformation when f of x is mapped onto g of x for number 4? So in other words, if I took this f of x graph, what would I have to do? I would have to slide it 3 to the left and 4 down to get it on top of the g of x graph, okay, to map it. So which one of those would represent 3 to the left and 4 down? That would be D. So xy becomes x minus 3, x minus 4. 3 to the left, that's minus 3. 4 down, that's minus 4. Okay. Number 6, for f of x is equal to x squared plus 12x minus 28. Determine if each number is a 0, and then we're going to write yes or no. All right, so in number 6 right here, what we need to do is we need to, whenever we're finding to determine if a number is a 0, what we do is we take the f of x part of the equation and we simply turn it into the number 0. Okay, and then we're going to solve this equation. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to factor x squared plus 12x minus 28. So I'm going to make my t-chart to factor. I have to find two numbers that multiply to make negative 28. Same two numbers have to add to make positive 12. Negative 28, positive 12. Okay, so what would those two numbers be? That would be positive 14 times negative 2. And positive 14 plus negative 2. So that means my trinomial factors into x plus 14 would be one of my factors, and my other factor would be x minus 2, which makes my solutions x is equal to negative 14 and x is equal to positive 2. So those right there are what we call my zeros, okay? So determine if each number is a 0, write yes or no. Negative 14 is yes, it is a 0. Positive 14 is no. Negative 2 is no. Positive 2 is yes.